ahead. Evening, the man who gets to put pen to paper and make these bills into laws. Governor Nathan Deal joins us live from under the Gold Dome on statewide television. Governor, it's an honor. We know how busy you are. Thanks for making some time for us this evening.
Glad to be with you, Scott. Thank you.
Well, let's start with this. What do you consider to be a benchmark success so far for this session? I know we've got a few hours to go, but up till now, what gets your attention?
Well, I think there are a number of issues. Of course, we have continued what we began last year with criminal justice reform. This year, we had some additional reforms within the adult system to give our judges more discretion in certain sentencing situations. But the primary focus there was on the juvenile justice system, just as we focused on the adults last year. And I am very pleased with the reforms that came forward with juvenile justice. That's just one of the major bills that has passed thus far this year.
Let's talk about a couple of other issues. The gun bill, for instance. So will you sign a gun bill that includes a campus carry provision for weapons permit holders?
Well, I don't try to prejudge things, but I have tried to give some information that I felt was appropriate, such as if you're going to be on a campus, then you should have some training with regard to the use of a weapon. The conference committee on that bill is still out. I'm not sure what progress, if any, they have made, but it is one of those bills that has been discussed in great detail between the two bodies.
Now, you brokered quite a few issues. Your management negotiating style is becoming rather famous on everything from the provider fee for hospitals to some last-minute tinkering you had to do on bond issues for the budget. We heard Senator Jack Hill speaking about that. Are you happy with the way all those budget numbers came out?
Yes, I am. Of course, we are under the mandate, as our Constitution puts it to us, that we must balance our budget every year. And we have done that. We have kept our bond package modest in terms of some previous years. And as a result of this management style, we have, of course, maintained our AAA bond rating. We have every reason to believe we will keep that in light of the budget that's going to be passed hopefully in another hour or so.
We alluded to the hospital provider fee just a moment ago that had to happen at the beginning of the session. How essential was that to moving forward and just about everything else this session?
Well, it was crucial because that is a fee that was used to leverage additional matching money from the federal government. And without that, we would have had a hole of approximately $700 million in our Medicaid budget. As you may know, Medicaid continues to be one of those accelerating costs in the state budget every year. So having the resources available to plug that hole was very critical.
In your State of the State message, you did call for some effort on ethics reform, and you got in the middle of that as well to move some numbers around. How do you feel about that outcome so far?
Well, I think the overall compromise is probably a step forward. We have put in place, when I first became governor, the requirement that there be no gifts from lobbyists to those in my executive branch of government. I think the step that hopefully will be taken on the passage of this ethics reform bill will get the legislative body in a not the same situation, but will certainly improve it from where they are now. So I'm encouraged by that.
Any bills that didn't come up this year that you would like to push forward in the very near future?
Well, there are always things that sometimes you don't have the time in a very short session to deal with. But by and large, I am very pleased with the two reforms that we have put in place in criminal justice. I'm also pleased with the reforms that we have seen in regulating what's so-called Class B machines, to be able to bring them under the jurisdiction of the Lottery Commission and to have a regulatory process and to have a portion of those proceeds going to support our HOPE programs.
Governor, you said just a moment ago you don't want to prejudge anything, but what if any bills will be dead on arrival when they hit your desk? Is there any preconceived notion there?
Not really. We've been reviewing some as they have gone through some of the major bills, and I think most of those are in very good posture when they come to my desk. But as you know, there are a lot of pieces of legislation, some that we have not dwelled on, but will begin bill review very shortly after the session is adjourned.
You're also getting high marks, sir, in the way you handled the DeKalb school board situation, replacing those suspended school board members. They seem to have a functioning board now. Now we're waiting on indictments in the Atlanta public school cheating scandal, potentially as early as tomorrow. Are you happy with the state's involvement on this level of education? Does the state need to be more involved?
Well, I have said to the members of the General Assembly that this is an area I think we all have to take a closer look at in the future as to whether or not there needs to be modifications that would empower the state to be more proactive and hopefully to ward off some of these situations. We, of course, are waiting to see what the final result is of the court challenge to the removal statute that is in place right now. But overall, I believe, first of all, that the nominating committee that I put in place to select and to screen those who have volunteered to be put in a position of serving on the DeKalb School Board, they did an excellent job. I accepted their recommendations, and I am very pleased with the individuals that I appointed to fill those positions.
It's been a busy session for you, sir, inside and outside the Gold Dome. Thanks so much for taking time to speak to us tonight on GPB.
Thank you, Scott. Nice to be with you.
It's a pleasure.